The aura forming menace named Sun Jin-woo always manages to pull through, and in these 3 episodes you'd wonder how he did that. The first of 3 has him going through these press conference runs of being a 10th ever S rank and what happens because of it. I feel like this episode was one of the more slower ones, but don't worry, the action is definitely coming later. But for now we get to enjoy what it's like to be Jin-woo for a day. And then we get to meet NBA Youngboy the Ant. Tell me, what would you do if you looked down the street and you saw this thing staring back at you? Me personally, I feel like the only option that I have left is praying, because there's no way this thing has any mercy left in his heart. After that death stare, or that penance stare, you more like it, we get sent into a demon realm where Jinwoo is fighting for the last piece of the puzzle to save his bedsick mom. And the aura farming has to get to a point where it's too much. It gets to a point where he steamrolls the enemy so bad and he pulls a Vegeta and says, I always wonder, do magic beasts feel fear? And when you see this magic beast totally shit themselves, he says, I guess I have my answer, bro. Are you the Prince of All Saiyans? Like,
let me ask you, does a machine like yourself ever experience fear?
Turns out the same demon knight that he scared the shit out of happened to be the daughter of Providence. She promised Jinwoo if he saved her life and the Raduru family's life were spared, she'd help him to the next level. Meanwhile, those ants, along with that YN ant that nobody seemed to care about, are mooring through a small island. And I take that back. Not the part where I said they were mooring through the island, that's definitely still happening. I take back the part where I said there are these ants. There's only one YN ant mooring through that island right now. So imagine what a group would do. Imagine what a small dozen of these ants could do. And now they have wings. It seems like that destruction that one ant caused was enough to get on the people's radar, because all of a sudden we care now. We got people walking around calling themselves the living weapon, but we're scared to shoot the fade with a few ants with muscles. It really confuses me. And speaking of muscle, Jinwoo decides to flex his aura again and tell the father of the demon army that he's taking his daughter hostage straight to his face. And that was even enough to riz his daughter.
It's an evil world we live in.
As they were going through levels, they eventually run into the demon Monarch that Issa was scared to be in the same area in. And also, Issa is the demon daughter. I feel like you could put 2 and 2 together, but just in case somebody got confused. And Jinwoo was scared to even make a move against this guy. But things change when Jinwoo realizes why he was there. Tusk and his other shadow soldiers make easy work of the small guys, and luckily Tusk and Igris are demons in their own right, because they handled the dragon that even had Jinwoo running for his life. In the midst of all that chaos in their demon realm, we got the Hunter Association bonding together to see how they can take out these YN ants of the world. Seriously, I feel like when we got pump faked by these island ants in the first few episodes, we should have taken care of them then. I don't see why we have to put them in front of the main board and say, yeah, let's see how we can handle this problem now that they've gotten the worst that they've ever been. We should have handled them when they didn't have wings, when they were lower class, when we could have sent like 5 S ranks to go handle them and they wouldn't have been a problem anymore. But now we gotta involve every S rank in the book, but I haven't even gotten to that point. Let's go back to Jinwoo, who's getting maxed out by this demon Monarch. And I feel like if he didn't have his shadows, it's a high percentage that he probably would have lost this fight. I mean, this demon Monarch is countering his skills and overpowering him in a physical department too. And if it wasn't for the assistance of Issa and her lance, the Jinwoo would have probably been space dust. But just as he always does, Jinwoo comes out of the top. After all that fighting, he manages to train a dragon, which he named Kasil. I feel like this show makes me just as bad as names as Jinwoo, because I can only remember his name and the names of his soldiers. But regardless of that, he has all the components of the elixir of life. And the first moment he gets to use it, he does, which is understandable. I mean, if my mom was in a coma that she's been in for 4 years, 4 different years I have been without my mom, I would have jumped at that chance to use a cure-all to save her from that coma. This moment was probably the most emotional and vulnerable we've seen Jinwoo since the beginning of the show, when he was getting tossed by lower tier goblins. Thankfully, and I mean thankfully, because they definitely drugged this out. I thought that she wasn't gonna get up, but thankfully his mom arose just to be as beautiful as the day he lost her, which is enough to make anybody tear up. It only makes it worse because this moment felt like Asuna comforting Kirito, or when Rim was trying to get Subaru to lock in. It had that "you've been fighting hard, haven't you" kind of feel to it. And you can see Jinwoo finally crack for the first time in 4 years. Of course, all roses aren't blissfully red, some wilt, and just like the press conference right after we get that heartfelt moment between Jinwoo and his family, the press conference is about the ants that nobody cared about until they became super threats with wings! wings. This problem with these YN ants have become so bad that they recruited all 10 of the S-ranks to fight back on the island. But just before that, in the training room, they get called out by some nobody. So we get sent into a mini tournament arc between a close range fighter of the S-ranks. Personally, I don't have a problem with that because the only person that we've been following the whole time from E to S rank has been Sung Jin Woo. So we've never seen any of the other juggernauts in this solo leveling world. So I'm actually excited to see what the other juggernauts of the solo leveling world has to offer. You know what they say, all that glitters is gold, but when it comes to me, I have like the reverse Midas touch, bro. You know how when Midas touches something and something turns to gold? When I touch something, I break it because somehow, some way, I didn't do it on purpose, but I managed to break the camera. I don't know how I managed to I don't know how I managed to fuck up every single time, but regardless, we're here to talk about solo leveling, so that's exactly what we're gonna do. This episode and the other 2 episodes were amazing. I gotta say, man, solo leveling finds a way to have no plot, but still be the most interesting show on the block. And people always say that about this show, and I kind of understand it from a point. Like, solo leveling doesn't have like the craziest amount of plot, but it has a simple plot. I don't see why we care so much about plot. We didn't care about it with Demon Slayer, so why are we dragging solo leveling through them? But regardless though, this last episode was the most emotional episode of the anime that I felt in a long time. And when I went on Twitter and I went to my other sources and they said that this episode was one of the most disliked episodes of Solo Leveling Season 2, I was appalled because I had just watched episode 2 episodes ago about living a life as Sung Jin Woo. So has his aura really encompassed all of anime fans, bro? We would rather watch Sung Jin Woo go through press runs and go through his daily life as an S rank rather than watch him finally save his mother from a coma. We would rather watch him frolic around in a garden and be a little rosy boy rather than save his mom while fighting demons. Or what is our standards? What do we care about anymore? You know, that's what I was thinking about when I was reading those articles saying that this is the most disliked episode of the show. What do you mean? What do you mean? Like, there's no way that this episode of him crying, this episode of his mother saying you can finally rest because you've been through so much, you've literally been fighting countless thousands of demons, nigga. Like, yo, how much does Jinwoo need to do? How much trauma does Jinwoo need to go through? Dude got crushed in the first episode. Dude has been fighting demons. Dude has been fighting literal mob boss level dudes for the past few episodes, and we are mad that he finally gets a moment of peace. Man, you gotta take a step back sometimes to realize that certain people don't have the same taste or same opinion as you, and that's okay. That's fine, you know. People can not like a certain episode, but to not like this one is insane. It's absolutely bonkers to me. But with that being said, how did you guys like Solo Leveling? Man, this show, like I said, it goes from having no plot to having the most insane, intense, ergonomic kind of plot. You see the plot built like that, and you're like, damn, how they build that? You know? And that's what I really like about Solo Leveling, bro. It manages to hold the viewer attention every single time, whether it's with a fight or whether it's not. I mean, unless you're brain dead. So, yeah, but how do you guys feel about Solo Leveling? Let me know down in the comments. And if you have any other anime that you want me to analyze, react to, or do anything with, please leave that down in the comments. I'm looking for more anime too. And other than that, I have nothing else to say, but thank you for watching this video. Thank you guys for watching all of my videos, despite how jank they may be. And other than that, yeah, I have nothing to say, but yeah, thank you and peace.